Awesome. I'm glad to be here. I've been watching the news a lot recently. I've seen been a lot of things in the news to watch about the transgender community protesting for their right to self-identify, which seems like a reasonable request, allow an adult to self-identify. I just think that's a freedom we should all enjoy, which is why I self-identify as a Harry Potter that has really let himself go. Not the only one joining in on this. Ted Nugent self-identifies as Judge Dredd. The Ku Klux Klan self-identifies as the Ferguson Police Department. Grew up in a small town. Grew up in a very small town, a place called Hackleburg. Now, when I was a child, Hackleburg purchased an emergency alert system, despite the fact there were never any emergencies for which to be alerted. But we had police scanner in my living room, so we got to hear all the non-emergency alerts. Attention all Hackleburg Fire and Rescue. Attention all Hackleburg Fire and Rescue. No far, no far. We're fixing to have a cookout down at Freebull Baptist this weekend. Reverend Cantrell has asked you please refrain from bringing alcoholic beverages to the event unless they are purchased from Reverend Cantrell. We had a very small school. Like there were 22 people in my senior class when I graduated high school. So we were limited on resources. We were not limited on inspirational teachers. Remember one day in high school I was walking to lunch, passed by the teacher's line, and I heard one of my teachers say one of the most inspirational things I heard. She turned to her peers and she said, you know, y'all ain't got to cook these, but it says right here on the can, baked beans. I knew in that moment, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I was going to college because I said, if she can get a degree, anybody can. Now, it's sad kind of growing up in a small town. It's kind of boring. It's even more boring when you grow up in a small town as an only child, which I did. Now, my parents owned a farm, but we didn't farm for a living, but it was just kind of family land that we just kind of had a few goats and cows out there just kind of keep from getting too grown up. Now, there was a creek, and down by the creek was this rock, stood about yay high. A goat would climb up on top of the rock, then another goat would come and knock that goat off, and then I, as a 10-year-old, would come and knock that goat off, then another goat would come and knock. Basically, my only childhood friends were goats. That's what I'm saying. It's a sad existence. We get the same, when you live in a small town, it's a very different world entirely. We get the same movies and music and TV shows that everyone else gets, but by the time they make it to a small town, they've been altered a little bit. Like, I watch Star Wars the same as everyone else, but in my version of Star Wars, it involved Burt Reynolds running a truckload of Coors across the galaxy. We got all three of those movies, Episode 4, A New Run, Episode 5, Smokey Strikes Back, and Episode 6, Return of the Bandit. It was good. Then we all teared up a little bit when Jackie Gleason turned to Burt Reynolds and said, "Dang it, Bandit, I'm your daddy." Now, what I really got hooked on was the spin-off television series from the Skywalker kid. What was it? Luke. When Luke and his brother Bo. You already see one. The Dukes of Alderaan. That's where we're headed with this. Dukes of Alderaan. Now, as Ryan mentioned, I'm from Alabama. And I get a lot of people have jokes about that. Oklahoma, calm down. We're not that different, really. Oklahoma and Alabama have a lot more similarities than differences. Take, for instance, we've both had embarrassing local news stories that went viral. You may remember a few years back, a gentleman from Alabama warned America to hide your kids, hide your wives, and hide your... Not to be outdone, refusing to allow anyone to be more embarrassing than Oklahoma, Oklahoma quickly responded with a viral video of their own. And you had to respond quickly because putting that type of video together is a long, drawn-out process, and ain't nobody got time for that. Both states have embarrassing politicians. Take, for instance, the governor of Alabama, Governor Robert Bentley. He's a Republican. I know that shocked you. But Rob Bentley's a guy, he looks like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, but he thinks like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. He ran on a platform of job creation. And then once he got elected, he signed into law an immigration bill so aggressive that Arizona was like, guys, you need to calm down. I don't know what's happening. Then he got straight right on the job creation. Brought a huge Mercedes-Benz plant to Alabama. And look, give credit where it's due. Created a lot of good paying factory jobs. Then, gentleman got arrested for not having the proper immigration documents. Now, it's not what some of you might assume. Gentleman got arrested was not Latino. He was German, and he was the chief engineer of the new Mercedes plant. It was kind of an embarrassing moment for old Bob Bentley, and all the Democrats in Alabama said, excellent. That's right, both of the Democrats in Alabama got excited about that. We're not the only state with an embarrassing governor. Mary Fallon got reelected. Wait for it, there's going to be crumbs, there's always are. Mary Fallon, she gets a bad rap, but she did something that I absolutely love during her re-election campaign, because when she was running for re-election, a huge gun store opened up in Oklahoma City. And the gun store said, we need a good publicity stunt. Mary Fallon's like, ooh, I'm good at publicity stunts. And the two merged in a beautifully Oklahoma moment when Mary Fallon drove a tank over the top of a Nissan car. She then goes inside, buys a beer at the bar. Did I mention it was a bar and a gun store? Did I bring that up? Yeah. You couldn't be more Oklahoma if you were a bar, gun store, tornado shelter, meth lab. She buys a beer and then fires off a couple hundred rounds from a Gatling gun and appeared to really be enjoying herself. I realized quickly she was faking it when she looked down at the ground and said, well, golly, look at all them bullets on the ground. No, those things on the ground are not bullets. Those things on the ground, much like Mary Fallon herself, are empty shells. Things are weird. I think contractions are weird. Just to stay on topic. And I'm not talking about like having a baby contractions. Those are probably weird too. But I'm talking about when two words become one word. You know, when will not becomes won't, do not becomes don't, Harry Potter becomes fat. But I remember as a child, at a very early age in elementary school, when they taught us about contractions, I remember even at that early age, thinking to myself, if we continue down this path of merging words together, eventually we're going to reach a point where we no longer have words, we just have letters that represent words. Then a few months ago, I was hanging out in Stillwater with some LGBTQ folks from OSU. We hopped in an SUV, drove up to OKC to protest GMOs, MSG, and the NRA. I'm in the back seat, loading up on THC and PBR, watching an LCD HD TV, laughing at MSNBC and CNN while the NSA has an ABB in the USA. Quickly switching to ESPN just in time to see DC tell the QB RG3 to GTFO. That's when I began to LOL, because OMG, I predicted this when I was still working overseas. That's all. That's all I got to say. I'm Tom King. Thank y'all for coming out. Have a good night.